Santorini is the most iconic Greek island, but is it still a must-see destination in 2024, or has it become a tourist trap? Hello and welcome to Greece Travel Guide. Santorini is the most recognisable Greek island. Its stunning Caldera views and iconic clifftop hotels make it one of the most popular destinations, welcoming millions of visitors each year. Unlike some content you'll find online, this island guide video is based on over 25 years of first-hand experience exploring more than 30 Greek islands, including several visits to Santorini. You'll find chapter markers in the description below if you're looking for specific information, but stick around to the end for our personal thoughts on Santorini, including the best times to visit and top tips to ensure you get the most out of your vacation. We've also got suggestions for other islands if you're looking for alternatives or want recommendations on places to combine with Santorini as part of an island hopping itinerary. Don't forget to like the video if you find it useful, and consider subscribing if you want to see more first-hand advice and information on Greece and the Greek islands. Part 1. Getting to Santorini. Santorini is the most southerly island in the Cyclades group, situated 150 kilometers north of Crete. The island has a modern international airport that was fully renovated in 2021, so the quickest and most popular way to get there is by plane, with direct flights from most major European cities. There are also daily internal flights from Athens, ideal for visitors arriving from outside Europe. Flights typically cost between 50 and 150 euros depending on the time of year and availability. Be aware that baggage size and weight restrictions may be lower on internal flights, so check with the airline operator before you book. Alternatively, you can travel by ferry from Piraeus, which takes between 5 and 9 hours and costs from 45 to 90 euros, or from many nearby islands including Milos, Paros, Naxos, Amorgos, Folegandros and Ios. High-speed ferries offer a faster service, but with prices increasing significantly in recent years, you can save money by using slower conventional ferries, with tickets costing as little as €6.50 from neighbouring islands. However, these don't always run daily, so consider this when planning your arrival and departure. You'll find a link to Ferry Hopper in the description below, where you can search for and compare ticket prices and plan your itinerary. Booking ferry tickets in advance is not usually necessary in Greece. However, Santorini is one of the busiest islands, so we recommend purchasing your tickets early if you're travelling between other popular islands and during peak season from June to early September. If you're visiting Santorini as part of a cruise, the ship will anchor in the Caldera near the capital. Access to the island by tender is via the old port immediately west of Fira, not the new port Athenios, which is further south. A cable car transports passengers to the capital, costing €6 per ticket. Alternatively, access by foot is available via a winding staircase that takes about 30 minutes to climb. This path is also used by donkeys, which can be paid for as an alternative to walking. However, the welfare of these animals is questionable, and like many others, I urge visitors to avoid them and walk or use the cable car instead. The cable car stations get very busy, particularly when multiple cruise ships visit the island simultaneously, so be prepared to queue and allow sufficient time to get back on board in accordance with your ship's itinerary. Most cruise ships offer dedicated sightseeing tours of Santorini, often using the main ferry port to transfer passengers straight onto the waiting tour buses. It's worth checking with your cruise provider what packages are available and considering an organised tour, as it allows you to avoid the queues at the cable car station. Some companies also offer speedboat transfers, taking cruise ship passengers from the small tender port up to a moody bay below Ia and up to the village by minibus. This is a one-way service only, so you'll need to get back via the cable car station in Fira at your own expense. Ticket prices are between 25 and 30 euros per person. Part 2. Where to stay. Choosing where to stay in Santorini will have the biggest impact on accommodation prices and affect how easy it is to get around. To help you decide, we've divided the island into 3 areas, and in this section we'll explain the pros and cons of each one. The most popular accommodation locations on the island are on the western side along the Caldera edge. Starting with the capital Fira and its northern neighbours Firostefani and Imerovigli. These are technically 3 separate villages, however, expansion in recent years has blurred their boundaries, and they now feel more like one long resort stretched along the cliff top for several kilometres. Accommodation here tends to be the most expensive due to the iconic Caldera views and central location, though cheaper rooms can be found away from the cliff edge. Fira is the most crowded village as it's where cruise ship passengers arrive and depart by cable car, so it can get very busy during the daytime and early evening. As you venture north to Firostefani, the crowds begin to ease, and Imerovigli is the quietest of the three. The trade-off is that it's further to walk to access the sites and amenities in the capital, such as the main bus station, restaurants, shops and museums. Space is extremely limited in these resorts, and you'll likely be unable to park a vehicle close to your hotel. If you're planning to hire a car or have limited mobility and need transportation, consider alternative locations or check for available parking facilities with the accommodation before booking. After Fira, the next most popular place to stay is the northernmost village of Ia. Famous for its Instagram appeal sunset views, it draws large crowds in the afternoon and evening. A range of accommodation can be found here, including many luxury clifftop hotels and some slightly cheaper places too. Ia has a wide selection of shops and restaurants, making it a fantastic base, although its more remote setting does mean travelling slightly further to explore the rest of the island. Akrotiri, famous for its prehistoric archaeological site, sits opposite Ia on the southern tip of Santorini. Less well known and consequently quieter, it's a good alternative if you want Caldera views with fewer crowds. Luxury accommodation has increased here in recent years, so prices will vary depending on where you stay, but you may find it more affordable than Ia and Fira. If you're not set on staying at a clifftop location or prefer to be by the sea, the next most popular resorts are along the eastern coastline. Perissa and Kamari offer comparable tourist-friendly atmospheres with plenty of shops, bars and tavernas. They also benefit from being within walking distance of ancient Thera, which we'll discuss later in the video. If you're looking for cheaper accommodation, consider staying in one of the many inland villages such as Pyrgos, Emporio, Vothonas and Karterados. Although they lack iconic views and easy access to a beach, their central locations mean you can get around the island easily, especially with your own transportation. Most of the villages are also on bus routes, so even if you don't have a vehicle, you can still get around by public transport, which we'll cover in the next section. On our second visit to Santorini, we stayed at a clifftop hotel in Firostefani with stunning Caldera views and found it an ideal location, especially for a romantic break. More recently, we stayed outside of the main tourist area in Karterados, which offered a much cheaper experience, but was still only 15 minutes walk to the main bus station and attractions in Fira. Part 3: Getting around. Santorini is one of the smallest Greek islands, measuring just 76 square kilometres. If you don't mind a bit of exercise, you can journey between most villages on foot or by bicycle. The local buses are a better alternative, offering a frequent and affordable service, though they can suffer from excess demand in peak season between June and early September. An important thing to know is that all buses on the island travel to and from the main bus station in the capital Fira. Consequently, the only way to get between locations that aren't on the same bus line is by travelling to Fira and changing buses there. You'll find the bus station towards the south of the village opposite the Museum of Prehistoric Thera, approximately a 10-minute walk south of the cable car station. Tickets are always purchased on the bus and are fairly cheap, costing between €1.60 and €2.50 for most destinations. A tourist information desk at the bus station can advise you on which bus to take to your chosen destination and has the current timetable on display in the window. A taxi station can be found outside the airport and just north of the main bus station in Fira, but availability may be limited at popular times, so it's best to plan ahead and allow plenty of time to make your onward journey connection. Hiring a private vehicle is a good alternative to public transport if you want to get around quickly or travel in a group. Rental companies in most resorts offer cars, quad bikes and mopeds at various prices. Expect to pay upwards of €40 per day for small cars and slightly less for quad bikes and mopeds. Part 4: Things to see and do in Santorini. After deciding where to stay and how to get around, this section will cover sightseeing opportunities in Santorini. Perhaps the most obvious attraction on the island is the stunning views from the Caldera rim. If you're staying in a clifftop hotel, you get these for free, well, as part of your hotel costs anyway, but otherwise you'll need to travel to one of the villages on the island's western side. Fira is the capital and most popular location, and is also where the bus will take you if you're staying outside the main town. But due to the crowds, we recommend walking further north to Firostefani or Imerovigli if you want to enjoy the views in a more peaceful setting. For visits to Ia, arriving early in the morning is best to beat the cruise ship passengers. Of course, if you want the sunset view, you'll have to fight for a spot with everyone else. In our opinion, the sunset view is overrated and has been hyped up by social media. You'll get a similar experience from anywhere on the island's western side, with fewer people competing for the same backdrop. If you fancy combining the iconic views with some exercise, a popular activity and one that we thoroughly enjoyed is the hike from Fira to Ia, which can also be done in reverse. This 10-kilometre route carries you along the Caldera rim and takes about 2.5 to 3 hours. The trail isn't too challenging, though some sections are over rocky ground, so appropriate footwear is advisable. There's also very little shade, so we recommend starting early, or if you want to arrive in time for sunset, then begin the hike after 5 PM when the sun is cooler. You'll find a link in the description below to an excellent YouTube video with a detailed explanation of the hike and full time-lapse footage of the route. If you're into history, the excavation of a prehistoric town at Akrotiri is the main attraction. The site is open from 8 AM to 8 PM most days, closing at 3:30 PM on Thursdays. Tickets cost €12, or for €15 you can buy a special 3-day ticket, which also gives access to the Museum of Prehistoric Thera in the capital, and to the ancient Thera site on the island's eastern side. Ancient Thera can be found on a clifftop between Perissa and Kamari. A road up to the site exists and is accessible from Kamari village. It's possible to walk from either side, with Perissa being a hiking trail and Kamari offering both the road and a more challenging hiking path. The site itself costs €6 and is quite large and interesting, with information displays dotted around to explain the ruins. You'll also be able to enjoy some impressive views both north and south, covering much of the island. Santorini is famous for its vineyards, and you'll find several wineries on the island, most of which offer a variety of wine tours and tasting packages depending on your interest level and budget. The more expensive wineries are those with Caldera views, such as Santo Wines and Vothonas, but you can save money by visiting alternatives with less premium locations. We chose Estate Argyros, one of the oldest winemakers on the island, and had a fantastic 45-minute tour and tasting for just €20. A big thanks to Valeria for showing me around. Boat tours are popular for those who want to see more of the Caldera. Available at a range of price points depending on the duration and number of other guests, most tours will visit the island of Nia Kamini and Thera and often include drinks and meals. Tours can be booked after arriving in Santorini via one of the many travel agencies or pre-booked online using websites like Get Your Guide. A fairly unique attraction is the island's beaches, which are black sand due to Santorini's volcanic geology. These can be found all over the island's eastern side, but the most popular beach resorts are in the southeast, near the airport at Kamari and Perissa. However, none of the beaches are particularly impressive by Greek standards, and Santorini isn't a destination we recommend if you love relaxing by the sea. The beaches are mostly coarse sand and shingle, and it gets pretty hot due to the black colour absorbing the sun's rays. Most tourists will choose to stay at accommodation with a pool and save the beaches for a different island. Try nearby Ios, Naxos and Paros for some stunning sunbathing opportunities. To the very south, close to Akrotiri, is the famous Red Beach, so named for its vibrant red rock cliff face. Several landslides over the years have made it a moderately dangerous site to visit, but this doesn't seem to keep tourists away. Just take care if you do decide to see it. If you like shopping, Santorini doesn't disappoint. You'll find plenty of designer and boutique stores throughout Fira, Ia, and, to a lesser extent, the beach resorts of Kamari and Perissa. Don't expect too many bargains though, Santorini isn't the cheapest island. Part 5. When to visit. Due to its popularity and inclusion in many European cruise ship itineraries, Santorini has one of the longest tourist seasons in Greece. The weather outside of late spring, summer and early autumn can be unpredictable, so the best time to visit if you want smaller crowds and cheaper accommodation is between April and early June or mid-September to late October. During the peak summer months of July and August, prices are at their highest and many hotels will be at full capacity. On days when multiple cruise ships dock simultaneously, the island becomes uncomfortably busy, which can greatly impact your enjoyment. We've just returned from a trip in early May 2024, and although the island was far from quiet, it felt like a great time to be there. Temperatures were in the mid-20s Celsius, around 75 Fahrenheit, and it was mostly sunny, with some clouds and a few random spots of rain. Buses were never full, and our accommodation in Karterados cost just €50 per night. Part 6. Our verdict. It's undeniable that mass tourism has left its mark on Santorini. Expensive cliff-top hotels, commonly overpriced restaurants, crowded streets, and an often overloaded public transport system make it feel very different from other Greek islands, with the possible exception of Mykonos. Yet, unlike Mykonos, Santorini does offer something truly unique in return. Its iconic Caldera view is the quintessential image of a Greek island, and experiencing it firsthand is something no photo or video can reproduce. This alone makes Santorini worth visiting for a once-in-a-lifetime experience. With some strategic planning, you can still enjoy the island on a budget and with fewer crowds by choosing more affordable accommodation away from the Caldera and planning your visit outside the peak summer season. This way you can truly savour the beauty of Santorini. Part 7. Tips and advice. If you want to make your time in Santorini as magical as possible, here are our top tips and advice for a perfect vacation. Tip number 1. Stay outside of Fira and Ia. Although they're the two most popular places to stay, we recommend basing yourself in other villages to avoid the biggest crowds. If you want Caldera views, consider Imerovigli, Firostefani or Akrotiri. If not, consider staying inland for the biggest savings, or along the eastern coastline if you prefer beach resorts. Tip 2. Visit outside peak season. Plan your visit for when the island is less busy, ideally between April and early June, or mid-September to late October. The weather won't be quite as reliable, but the crowds will be more manageable and accommodation prices more reasonable. If you must visit during peak season, be prepared and try to explore early in the morning or late afternoon and evening when most cruise ship passengers will be off the island. Tip 3. Keep your visit short. Given Santorini's small size, you don't need to spend too long here. We recommend 3 to 4 nights, which is still plenty of time to see all of the popular sites without blowing your holiday budget. The time and money you'll save on a shorter visit can be used to see some of the neighbouring islands like Ios, Paros and Folegandros, all of which have something different to offer and provide a more authentic Greek experience. Santorini is a great starting point for island hopping. Check out our detailed video on island hopping by clicking the card on screen now or via the link in the description below if this is something that interests you. Tip 4. Use public transport. Santorini's bus network is reliable and cheap, and due to its hub and spoke design, most journeys are not much faster by car. It's a great way to save money and avoid the stress of driving and parking a vehicle in busy locations. Some services do get busy though, particularly the return bus from Ia after the sun has set, so you may have to queue. Tip 5. Plan your arrival and departure. The main port in Santorini is quite unique in Greece, some distance from the main town and far from the nearest resort. While it is possible to get there on foot, we don't recommend it as the road is steep, winding and usually busy with cars, lorries and buses. A local bus serves the port and takes about 25 minutes from Fira, but if you want to avoid waiting around, consider a private transfer. Though expensive, it's one of the few islands where we recommend it to streamline your onward journey. Part 8. Other destinations. If you're interested in alternatives to Santorini, or ideas on destinations to combine with it as part of a multi-island vacation, here are our top recommendations. Number 1. Naxos and Paros. Situated above Santorini on a popular north-south ferry route, Naxos and Paros are great islands if you're looking for stunning beaches, traditional Greek architecture, and delicious local cuisine. Though popular, they'll feel less crowded than Santorini, partly due to their larger size. You can reach the island in as little as 90 minutes by ferry, with tickets costing from €30. Many people choose to see both islands, but their similarity and close proximity mean we generally recommend picking one or the other. Number 2. Ios. Ios is Santorini's northern neighbour. Despite its reputation as a party paradise, the island is actually quite traditional and unspoiled, with a relaxed, peaceful atmosphere. The narrow streets of Hora do come alive late at night, and there are regular guest DJs at Far Out Beach Club throughout the summer. But if that's not your thing, you can simply relax on one of the many fabulous beaches and soak up the Mediterranean sun. Ferries to Ios can take just 30 minutes and cost as little as €10. Number 3. Sifnos. Our current favourite Greek island, Sifnos provides the perfect contrast to Santorini. Although it has gained in popularity in recent years, it receives significantly fewer visitors than our other recommendations. Its compact size gives the island an intimate and accessible feel, with a selection of fantastic beaches, sightseeing opportunities, and an impressive network of well-marked hiking trails. An excellent public transport system makes getting around cheap and easy. A fast ferry from Santorini takes 3 hours to reach Sifnos and costs €90. A slower ferry service is available, taking between 4 and 6 hours and costing just €12.50. However, in high season it only runs 3 times a week, so you'll need to plan your itinerary carefully to take advantage of the cheaper tickets. That's it for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, you can find more information about Santorini and many other Greek islands on our website www.greecetravelguide.co.uk.